Beat the Mets, beat the Mets. Step right up and beat the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really solid with the ball. Knock the ball runs over the wall. East side, west side. And everybody's coming down to meet the Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets!
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific,
Oh,
the great one,
the cheering and
the people's champion as I'm talking over the music. And we're back here from New York City. So I'm screaming. What the hell are you screaming for? Oh, my God. What a great start. But anyway, hello to Captain Obvious, Southern Cal Mets fan, Leon. Hi, how are you? So please like the video if you haven't already. And, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I usually been going on, basically trying to go on Saturdays. But this week, obviously, we're on today. And in all likelihood, we'll be back next Sunday on this channel around the same time, I think. But we'll definitely be back tomorrow night. You need to keep an eye out for it. I'll be back again tomorrow on the Baseball Hut 2. Same shit, different day. I mean, basically same stuff here. Same insanity, same nickname. Well, I don't do too many nicknames here. But same shit, different day. Really, the difference between this channel and the Baseball Hut 2 is Baseball Hut 2 is sort of like a more of a daily thing. This is more of a general thing. I talk about other players that are not on the Mets and a lot of rumors here. The other channel is more about every day. The channel's doing really well. To my guys that have like wrenches, please put in the link to the Baseball Hut 2. Want to get that monetized. It's doing really well. I'm very happy. We're getting close to 200 subs. And I want to talk about, obviously, the Mets. I was going to start with the thing with Chili Days. We'll get into that in a minute, but a couple things here about they announced yesterday that they put out offers to Noah Syndergaard and Michael Conforto, qualifying offers. And they're going to get about $18.2 million, I think, in terms of what the contract is. So I think that one will take the qualifying offer and one will not. They got 10 days to respond, and if they don't respond, they can basically go somewhere else. I think we all kind of saw at the end of the season that Michael has basically decided he's not going to stay. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about this today, that when the Mets called him up, I was like, he's not going to be here in 6 years. He's going to be somewhere else because of his agent. His agent always takes him to places that are not conducive. What the hell's going on here? Sorry, just a second. Something popped up here. Anyway, so I was like, Conforto's going to be gone. Uh, Unfortunately, he had a horrific season, and it doesn't benefit the Mets to give him a long-term deal. Thankfully, they didn't do that. The one thing I've noticed about Michael over the years is that he does not do well with any kind of pressure in terms of um, any kind of sort of like pressure on him in terms of you know if he needs to do well, needs to really pick it up. He doesn't do well. So in 2016, when they put him batting third, they had to send him down to the minors. And this year again, he hit so poorly, he should have been sent to the minors. But because he's a veteran player, he wasn't going to get sent down. Uh, Somebody wrote to me today. I want to read you this. This was a comment left on one of the videos on the Baseball Hut too. I'm going to show you what somebody wrote to me. I thought it was a very ridiculous comment. Um, I want to ask you what you think. They wrote it. This is about Syndergaard. It made no sense to give Syndergaard a qualifying offer. He has thrown only 2 innings over the past 2 seasons and wasn't even allowed to throw a breaking ball upon his return in 2021. Mets continue to show how they poorly run the team as a whole. Mark my words, like it's a declaration. 2022 will be a disaster. Now, first of all, I wrote back to him. So I said to him, so if he signs with another team, they get nothing for him according to your plan. So if the Mets were to not give Syndergaard a qualifying offer, and just let him walk, the Mets don't get a draft pick for him. Is that ridiculous or what? And he would be the same guy that would write to me saying, why did the Mets let him go? He's a good player. Why'd you let him go? Now, Michael's not going to be back. The Mets will get a draft pick. I think that they will bring in a big, at least one big free agent. Probably Chris Bryant's the most obvious guy. But so it doesn't benefit the Mets to let Syndergaard. First of all, if Syndergaard decides to go somewhere else, the Mets will get a player out of him in the draft, and that draft pick will be protected. Okay. So if Conforto leaves, they're guaranteed at least 2 number 1 draft picks in the 2022 draft. They get the number 11 pick because of Kuma Rocker. They have the 14th pick in the draft, plus whoever Michael goes. So you got 3. So if you don't give the qualifying, the only thing is the money. It's a lot of money to give to a guy that hasn't pitched in 2 years. But if you let him walk, you're going to be kicking yourself forever. And he just throws too hard, and his stuff is too good to let him walk and not get something for him. So even if he signs a contract, which I don't think he's going to do with any other team, at least you get a draft pick out of him. But like I said, Conforto's going to be gone. That is a guarantee. I don't guarantee too many things, but I can guarantee you he will not be back next year. He will not pick. Well, we'll know in 10 days where he's going to go. He's going to be here or he's not going to be here. If he's not going to be here, I can live with it. I can live with him not being here, quite frankly. I am not the biggest fan of his. His offense is he's too streaky for my blood. Sorry. He's just too damn streaky for me. And they need to find someone a little more consistent than he is. He's just too damn inconsistent. And the Mets going to have to figure out what to do with him. At least to figure out what to do in right field. Mets have a big problem in the outfield. They have a big problem on this offense. This team cannot hit. Aside from Pete and aside from Nimmo, this team can't hit the broadside of a barn. Now I'm going to read you an article from this week, and this is about Chili Davis, and he really went after the Met front office, and really, I thought it's an interesting thing, and it's something similar to what I've been talking about here, about how the Mets have got to do a better job. Well, first of all, whoever the general manager is that comes in, he has got to get rid of everybody. Get rid of everybody, from the PR department all the way down, because you got the same people making the same decisions and making the same mistakes. So there is no reason to be married to this group of losers, and that's what we have in the Met front office: a bunch of losers running this team from the day-to-day operations. We now see new ownership here. Mets have new ownership, but they have the same result. So there's got to be somewhere is a problem. Okay, somewhere along the line, we have a major problem on our hands. Okay, if the front office, like I said, if you've changed ownership, very few teams change ownership. We're very lucky because now we get to see what the hell is going on behind the scenes with this Met ball club and this Met franchise. Because now we're seeing the same result. Now we see the same result. It may not have been necessarily ownership. And there was a leak. I'll talk about this Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil issue that popped up during the season. I think we all know about it. Now here is the article from hold on a second. Computer is frozen on me. And I'm going to read this article. Now, meanwhile, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Oh, wrong article. Reading the wrong article. All right. This is from the New York Post. It's written by Mike Puma. I would mention Mike Puma. Please stop. Mike Puma should stop really making fun of the Met fans. I'm getting a little tired of that. That's got to come to a screeching halt, folks. So let me read this article. But he's a very good writer, though. Chili Davis goes scorched earth. Mets are broken after dismal stretch. All right, let me read you this. So, like I said, the Mets have had the same result of the last few years, and they've got to change the result. And the result has been lousy. Chili Davis was fired as Mets hitting coach in May, but his contract with the club didn't officially expire until October 31st. Now, free of that contract, the 61-year-old Davis, during 45. Now, I would mention about Chili Davis. He played in the major leagues for almost 20 years. Played with the Giants and the Yankees and the Twins and a few other teams. He's got a few World Series championships under his belt. So he's a very good, accomplished, big-time accomplished major league player and a hitting coach. Now free of that contract, during a 45-minute interview with the Post this week, offered a candid assessment of his firing, the organization what he views as a misguided application of analytics. His strong words were reserved from former acting GM Zach Scott, who was recently blah, 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 blah. It was Scott who fired Davis and assistant hitting coach Tom Slater on May 3rd, replacing them with Hugh Quattlebaum and Kevin Howard, both of whom were working in player development roles. The Mets never got rolling, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested in that. Quote, the organization needs a big turnaround. They need to clean house. Some of the people that have been there so long during those dismal years, they need to bring some fresh faces and baseball people in there. To be honest, I don't think Zach Scott was a baseball person. He was the head of analytics in Boston. He was an analytical guy. Now he was brought in because Jarrett Porter was fired. So that let's be real, at least in that regard. That's where he belonged, in analytics. The Mets are only 24 games into the season, struggling offensively when Davis and Slater were fired. The previous two seasons, the team had been strong offensively. I would not go with that assessment. They were not good in 2020, and they could have been a lot better in 2019. That included but this year was so bad. That included the pandemic-shortened 2020 season when the Mets led MLB with a 121 OPS, but then their batting average of men on base was horrific. That's the problem. Some of their peripheral statistics with this ball club is not bad. But the problem is the statistics of men in scoring position. That's where it's bad. I was told it's, and here we go again with Davis. It was not told I was told it's not about the results, it's about the process. Quote, well, if the process doesn't produce positive or good results, then the process is worthless because it's not a good process. The process is making your players better. It's a bullshit statement, I'll say that. To tell me it's not the result, not about the results, it's about the process. Quote, how did the process work with Quentelbaum? That's my question. How will the process work? It's not about the results. So how did the process work? Because everybody could see the results. There was a one in Napa called Brilliant Mistake. I almost bought a case of it to distribute it. Even so, Davis acknowledged that Qualbaum and Howard were placed in a difficult spot, taking over during the season. But he's certainly the Mets' fortunes would have been different if he and Slater had been allowed to continue. I don't know about that. Okay, I don't know about that one. I don't think Conforto would have struggled. I don't think Dom Smith would have struggled like that. I don't think McNeil would have struggled the way he did because they had built a relationship based on trust with these guys. Now, a couple of things. Michael Conforto has always had a career prior to Chili Davis coming in here, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Dom Smith, prior to 2019, 2020, couldn't stay on the field. He really wasn't a major league player, and he basically reverted back to that. And he was getting a little chunky at the end of the season. The weight was starting to become a bit of an issue, at least from my eyes, with him on the field. He didn't look like he was in shape like he had been in 2019, 2020. And there've been issues with Dom, again, in the past of his attitude in terms of not getting to the ballpark on time, not taking care of his body the way he should. So there've been issues with him. Now the thing with McNeil, there's a bit of a problem now because this other story came out about McNeil does not paint him in a good light. But I would mention about McNeil and all of these guys, every offensive player on the Mets, the last year and a half took a step back. So you saw the regression in 2020 and 2019 and 2021. Okay, all of them took a step back, including Pete. Now, Pete had a solid year this past year as the Mets' best offensive player, but every offensive player over the last 2 years have taken a step back. This is probably, first of all, it's probably a bad mix that in the everyday lineup. You have guys that are really good, like Pete Alonso, being pitched around. Okay, Pete should have had over 100 RBIs if he had any kind of help in front of him. Mets don't have a three hitter. I still go based on the traditional three hitter, in my view. Okay, they had. I'm not going to get too worked up about the catching position because defensively they were pretty good back there in terms of throwing runners out and calling a game. I didn't think they had a good year. I'm not worried about that offensive part of the team. But when you have Francisco Lindor take a major step back in his career, and he did not have a good year last year, where he hit 250. He's regressed as an offensive player. Now he had a very good September, had a very strong September. But where is he going to go going further? I don't know. Davis was more cryptic when discussing the Mets clubhouse, but indicated the vibe changed in 2021. Quote, there's some players that are going to be there that are they good for the team? Are they team players? Davis said. I know the guys we had in 2019, 2020, that was a good team. It was on its way. It needed some pieces, and they started to put the pieces together. But they had a good core of players. McNeil was an all-star. Conforto was getting better. Dom Smith was getting better. J.D. Davis was getting better. Pete was becoming Pete. And Rosario had a big year in 2019 for us. And the kid Jimenez was coming around last year. And interesting, goes after Lindor. In this comment. He says it without saying it. That's interesting. That's a bad mix with Lindor. We're seeing it now. I mean, we saw it at the end of the year with this whole thing with the thumbs down. I mean, Baez took the hit. Hello, Pat Cole. Baez took the hit for Lindor acting like a baby. But this is an indictment on Lindor reading this. Well, you can check out this article. I'm going to get into this thing with let me talk about this. That's all right. It says that Davis had a good relationship with Rojas, but we're not a fan of Rojas. We saw enough of him. Like I said, And the 2 years of him as the manager, the Mets took a step back in terms of their, you know, in terms of their offensive approach. That's not good. That's pretty lousy. So let me, and the screen will go on to this other article about Lindor and Jeff McNeil. This is some story in and of itself. This is actually more interesting to talk about. If they said that they had a disagreement and blah blah blah, it wouldn't have made a big deal. But now that I've had a chance to read this. Now that I've had a chance to really go through this. This is a very damning thing about both players. This is very damning about McNeil, and it's extremely damning about Lindor too. But more McNeil than Lindor, quite frankly. Now, we know that there's no leadership in the Met clubhouse. We know that because it's been discussed. Mets have zero leaders in that clubhouse. Everyone talks about, Michael Conforto this, Michael Conforto that. He's not a leader. We've seen that. So now we have to sort of talk about this, which now we sort of have to revisit it. We saw the lack of leadership in terms of this thing with thumbs down. That would not have gotten outside of the clubhouse. If David Wright was still in that clubhouse, it wouldn't have happened. If the Mets had a strong manager, that wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened if Michael Dyer was in there. Just to use an example of him, or Curtis. Definitely wouldn't have happened with Curtis Granderson on that ball club. That would not have happened. So he is from. What day is this from? It's from Tuesday. No, Tuesday. Wednesday. Headline from the New York Post. Francisco Lindor grabbed Jeff McNeil by the throat during the Mets Rat-Raccoon altercation. Let's see. The tension had been building for at least 2.5 weeks between Lindor and McNeil when it reached a boiling point on May 7th in the tunnel that connects the Mets dugout to the clubhouse at Citi Field. Details weren't divulged by the... Now, I'm going to bring this up. I mentioned this a while. I don't know if I mentioned it on this channel. I mentioned this on another channel. Remember the big kerfluffle that happened in Philadelphia with Miguel Castro? And it started going back and forth with the Mets and the Phillies. And it seemed like the Mets were kind of like really had a tough time calming him down. So there's been a lot of stuff boiling on the surface with this Met team. That you could tell that they didn't really like each other. They didn't really get along. There's some real issue in that clubhouse. And obviously there's nobody for them to rally around. All right. Details weren't divulged by the players involved or the organization at the time, but the Post learned the specifics of what transpired in the Rat-Raccoon altercation. This was probably leaked by Zach Scott. That the shortstop Lindor, frustrated by the second baseman's latest positioning gaffe and their ensuing argument, according to the club source, grabbed McNeil by the throat and pinned him up against a wall in the tunnel. Before the situation could escalate, Mets players hearing the commotion arrived to break it up. After the Mets beat Arizona 5-4 in a walk-off, neither Lindor nor McNeil would acknowledge the altercation other than to say an animal had been spotted in the tunnel, and the two players were arguing over whether it was a rat or raccoon, prompting Mets players to the scene. As an explanation, team officials refused to confirm, realizing the absurdity of the story from the public's view. Lindor had been visibly flustered on the field after McNeil lined up to the left of second base in a shift, ranging too far toward the hole and pursuing Nick Ahmed's grounder. Lindor fielded the ball. McNeil ducked, allowing the shortstop to throw to first base. But Lindor's brief hesitation on the throw may have cost him any chance throwing out Ahmed, who was safe. And I guess this is the picture of it. This is the picture of the little altercation they were talking about on the field. Interesting. McNeil had two previous defensive positioning miscues involving Lindor 2 weeks earlier at Wrigley Field at some point, which is really the first road trip the Mets had. At some point, either before or after the series at Wrigley, manager Louis Rojas had threatened to bench McNeil. Interesting. If he didn't get on board with the team shifting. Rojas, according to sources, made good on the threat. on that threat, but it's unclear if the benching occurred on April 22nd in Chicago, April 25th at home against the Nationals. McNeil, it's interesting that they're very quick to bench him. If you don't do what your boss wants you to do, you probably deserve to be disciplined. That's very interesting. It sort of does not paint McNeil in a very good light. Um, and certainly, the sort of, too, with the sort of attitude of, you know, of Lindor is not great either, quite frankly, to be honest with you. Lindor's anger with the situation apparently stemmed as much from McNeil's dismissive attitude toward the positioning issues as the actual mistakes. Remember, he hit a home run late, in the middle of the game. Lindor would always try to get him to move, and Jeff would be like, "Shut up, I got it." A source said it was building and building. After the blow up in the tunnel, which the source said Lindor grabbed McNeil by the throat and pinned him against the wall, the two players appeared to reconcile, but the Lindor-McNeil double play combination soon dissolved, more because of circumstances than a personality conflict. Well, McNeil is not a good second baseman, and if he's not going to do what he needs to do for the club, you can't have him playing second. He might be the kind of guy you can't play him every day at his position. Maybe you play him a little right, a little left, play him second a little bit, play him in third. He probably is a guy that you can't play every day in one position. McNeil was placed in the injured list just over a week later with a strained left hamstring and missed the next month. After he returned, the tandem started 18 games together before Lindor was sidelined with a strained oblique. When Lindor returned from the IL in August, his new double play partner was Javi Baez, acquired from the Cubs at the trade deadline. McNeil played primarily left field with Lindor, and Baez entrenched in the middle infield. So, obviously, we got a big problem. We got a big problem with this club. We got a big problem with the front office. Mets have zero leadership anywhere on the field in the front office. Steve Cohen has got some job. If he didn't lose all his hair already, he would lose it now. After a year of running this team, this is really bad. It's a bad situation that he's gotten himself in. But the Mets are going to have to clean house, and I think that's why he was seeing sort of a dragging of some of these, some of these kind of candidates. I don't know who the candidates are. I don't know who's going to be running this ball club, but they're going to have to find somebody that's going to be willing to come in here and clean house. And I think the reason this has dragged on for as long as it has, I think some of these middle management people are scared shitless that they're going to get fired somewhere down the road. Now, I'm going to find out who's in this Met front office at some point. And I think some light has got to be shined on them, finally. And I'm going to find out who is in that Met front office. And it's a very easy way to do it, I was always a big collector of yearbooks. And I had every yearbook from 1984 through 2015. And if you go through a Met yearbook, they will give you every bit of information on every person in the Met organization. And I will find out who's in the Met front office now, and I will try to track back who's been here. Now, remember, the Wilpons still had those people in place. All right. I want to mention this story. This was a story I mentioned a few weeks ago. Howie Rose was on the last Met game on the radio with Eddie Coleman and Wayne Randazzo. They had him on before the game came on. They wanted to know how he was feeling. And what Howie said, they were talking about Bobby Valentine. And he mentioned about how Bobby, when he was here at the Mets, especially in the first few years, kept talking about this player in Japan that the Mets have to sign. This great Japanese player who was so great they have to sign him. Well, the Met front office, the people in the Met front office said, look, we don't want to sign him. He's a singles hitter. And that singles hitter turned out to be Ichiro. So Ichiro could have been a Met. Now, as you know, the Mets finished second in on uh, the pecking order in terms of getting Ichiro because they put in the second highest bid, and he went to the Mariners because they put in the highest bid, and they had the rights to sign him. There is a player coming from Japan called Saya Suzuki, and at some point, maybe tomorrow night, I'll talk about him. He is the best position player in Japan, and he's an outfielder. He's a right-handed bat. He's got a lot of power. I'll have to. I don't know much about him, but he's been posted by one of the Japanese leagues. But we'll talk about him going forward. But the Met front office, they're very dismissive of a lot of stuff. And what's happened in 20 years? What's happened all these years? Why are we having the same result? And why are these stories coming out about Lindor? Why are we getting these stories? And McNeil. Why? We have a different ownership. Okay. Sandy don't talk about this stuff as far as I know. You know. I also would mention this, believe it or not, I have a friend who worked in the San Diego Padres front office years ago, and he loves Sandy. You know, he worked with him a few years out there, and he said to have faith with Sandy. This was years ago when Sandy first took over the Mets job, and he told me that he liked working for Sandy. Now, Sandy has had a good reputation. Now, his reputation has taken a major hit through all this. But like I said before, a little while ago, you have these people in the front office that are probably dragging their feet. They're probably making it very difficult for Sandy to decide who to bring in here. Also, there's probably all kinds of rumors going around that if anyone goes into that front office, are going to have to deal with these toxic middle management people. And I'm not talking about the analytical people. These analytical people come in over the last few years. But we're going to find out. Like I said, I'm going to find out what the deal is. Now, that's not being, sorry, that's not being, you'll get a timeout for that. That's just a stupid comment, Mark Cuban. Please. Get the hell out of here. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, and there's so much to talk about. There's going to be so much to talk about. And again, I'll be back again tomorrow, probably 6:30 on the Baseball Hut 2. And whatever I can't get to tonight, I'll get to it tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow's a work day. So we're going to have a lot of stuff tomorrow. And hopefully I'll have some extra information for you in terms of with the Mets. Here we go. Oh, here's a little news. Here is a little news for us. Not with the Mets, but with the Dodgers. This is from Robert Murray. The Dodgers did not extend a qualifying offer to Clayton Kershaw. Interesting. So he's gone. He's not going to be back. He's not going to be back with the Dodgers. Wow. End of an era right there. End of an era. So he's gone. So if you're a team, here's the thing about Kershaw. He's had some injuries. You know, he's getting up there in terms of the mileage, and he had a bit of an issue with his elbow in the postseason. He couldn't pitch, so he's gone. And he has some other news from John Heyman. Jays officially do not make qualifying offer to Steven Matz. Probably good news for him since he's more likely to land a deal of decent length now. 4 years, perhaps? Would you bring back Steven Matz here? That's a good question. They didn't have a qualifying offer to him, but the Mets don't care about money. That's why they gave this qualifying offer. Should I do a video on Steven Matz coming back here? You want to go do that and, acting like a lunatic? And all the pressure and him having to give tickets to people, his family, friends. I could do a video on that. I could do that. Absolutely not. Anthony Aaron says absolutely not on Steven Matz. We'll see. But you don't have to give up. You just got to give up money. You don't have to give up a draft pick. And the Mets do need pitching help. Mets need offensive help. They need to get right fielder. Castellanos could be somebody the Mets will be talking to. He will have a qualifying offer attached to him. Starling Marte does not have a qualifying offer. There are already rumors that the Mets might be interested in him. Well, Mets Nick Bory, even though he doesn't get qualifying offer, they still can't resign him for cheaper if nobody wants him or he doesn't want to leave. I don't know who you're talking about. If you're gonna mention somebody, this goes to the entire chat. Please put down the name of the person you're talking about because I don't know who you're talking about. But yeah, so I guess the GM meetings are on Tuesday. Now I got an information from a Bill Madden account on Twitter saying that the Major League Baseball canceled had canceled the winter meetings. I don't think the winter meetings were canceled. Mystic's Boy says even though Kershaw doesn't get qualifying offer, they still can't resign for cheaper if nobody wants him or he doesn't want to leave. Well, I don't know where he's gonna go. They might just give him a we'll see. I'm not worried about him. He's not gonna be a Met. I think he'll probably stay with the Dodgers. They'll figure something out. Captain Avi says Mets should be in on Marte. Right. I think they will because they've been attached to him for a long time. The guy can hit. You put him in center field, then you can move Nimmo to right or Nimmo to left, and the Mets need a lot of help in the outfield, and so we'll see what happens. But a couple other things before we get into this thing with Gil Hodges in the Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about that. We have again, Brett Beatty is doing great in the Arizona Fall League, as well as Ronnie Mauricio is doing well in the Dominican. Wilmer Reyes is another guy in the Mets minor leagues. He's doing well in the Arizona Fall League, but Beatty is doing great. So I was thinking about this today. The Mets can't really bring in a big third baseman. They can't really bring in a big third baseman because they have these two guys, Vientos and Beatty, that are probably going to be especially Beatty's going to be an impact player. And they can't really bring in people that are going to, block them. You can't trade them, and you can't trade Beatty. The Mets need young players in here. You can't keep bringing in all these veteran guys. So that's why I'm not too keen on say I put Correa in this video just to get people to watch. But the reality is Correa is not going to be here with the Mets. I think he'll probably go to Detroit. Aaron says the Mets should sign Asdrubal Cabrera, and at the middle of the year they can bring on. They could do that. They could just re-sign Jonathan Villar. Put him at third. Say, we want John. Sort of do like a Ty Wigginton thing. Put him there. Give him a contract. Also, we have and Robinson Cano is going to be back. Cano can play third a little bit, but Cano will be primarily the DH. We'll see if he has anything left in his career. I don't know how much Robbie has left. I know he played well when he's been in the Dominican and stuff like that, but there's a big difference between the Dominican and Major League Baseball. Now, please like this video if you haven't already. Let me see what else I have on this after I talk about Gil Hodges. There are a lot of players on this list. I'll run through some of the names. Some of the names you don't know. Some names I don't know. Most of the names I don't know. But Christian says Marte would be a great fit, but at 33, I would not go longer than 3 years. Offer him a higher AAV. I agree, Christian. I agree with you on that. Don't give him a long-term contract. Nothing more than 3 years. I don't know if he's gonna be able to. I don't know if you're gonna be able to get him for that. I wouldn't get too crazy, and there can be a lot of teams in on him. I know that Sandy has liked him for a long time, but all right, let me just go through these early baseball era guys, and then we'll get into the some other players. None of these players I've ever seen, so I'm just gonna go based on certain things. The early baseball era, which most of the guys that are on this list are Negro League players. The two players of note on this list is Ali Reynolds, who pitched for the Yankees, won 182 games and was part of 6 World Series championships with the New York Yankees. 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53. I think I got it right. I don't think 48. What the hell am I talking? 48, he was with the Cleveland Indians before I forget. So he was part of the 48 Cleveland Indians, the 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Hey, hut, Yankees. And that's part of that great Yankee dynasty. And the other name of note that's going to be on this ballot is Buck O'Neill, who was really, he was a Negro League player, but he's more of an historian that we sort of saw with that baseball documentary 30 years ago um, with Ken Burns. He was the sort of the the black guy talking about. Chris Kendrock says Mets should rebuild, no free agents. Okay, you had the best pitcher in baseball on your team, um, and you got to get him healthy. You can't be trading him, so you can't go in between. You can sign free agents. You could sign Starlin Marte because Marte there's no like anything attached to him. There's no like free. There's no draft pick attached to him. From Mets, we'll get into Gil Hodges. He's more than a solid 8-year run. His accomplishments are very unbelievable. Now the Hall of Fame are going to be announcing these players on December 5th. Hopefully we get Gil Hodges in. But I'm going to go through some of the players and who he's going to be not competing against, but some of these players of note. We'll start at the bottom and then we'll finish up with Gil and then we'll end the live stream. But Maury Wills, 1962 MVP in the National League. He's still alive. 7-time All-Star, 3-time World Series winner, 2 Gold Gloves, All-Star MVP, 2,134 hits. Played from 1959 to 1972. Played shortstop and third base. Billy Pierce. Some of these guys I don't know the names. Obviously, I've never any of these. Maybe Jim Cott I might have seen. I don't know. I do have Jim Cott's baseball card when he's with the Cardinals. Billy Pierce pitched from 45 to 64. 2-time 20 game winner, 211 wins. Wins above replacement, 53.4. That's very high. 211 wins. Yeah, that's very impressive. Tony Oliva played from 1962 through 1976. 1,917 hits. The 1964. Hold on, I need a drink. Hold on, I need a drink. Look. Okay, what was it? Oh, Tony Oliva, the 1964 Rookie of the Year in the American League. Led the American League in hits 5 times. Won the batting title 3 times in 1964, 65, and 71. Danny Murtaugh, who I can't find anything about, couldn't find anything on him. Minnie Minosa, 299 batting average, wins above replacement, 53.8. 13-time All-Star, 3 Gold Gloves, played left field and third base, played from 46 to 1980. Chris says, check the Marlins. They have 10 of the 100 best prospects. Reminds me of the Astros and the Cubs. Yeah, okay. But where did they finish? They finished behind the Mets there, of course. Take it easy with with those prospect lists. Roger Maris, the real holder of the all-time home run king of any season. MVP in 1960 and 1961. 4-time All-Star, 1 Gold Glove, had 61 home runs in 1961, 3 World Series champions. But really, his best years are from 59, 60, 61, 62. Played from 1957 through 1968. Won 2 World Series with the Yankees and one with the St. Louis Cardinals in 1967. Jim Cott, 283 wins over his career, but the career spanned from 1959 to 1983. So he's one of these rare birds of playing in 4 decades. Hello, Quinn. How you doing? 50.5 wins above replacement. Three-time All-Star. 1982 World Series winner. But he was basically just a guy in the back of the bullpen. 16. He's the all-time leader in terms of Gold Gloves at 16. He's also a three-time 20-game winner. He's the greatest fielding pitcher in the history of baseball. It's interesting Keith is not on this. Keith should be on. I think I think the list is for the Golden Days era, because this was his call. I think it's from 51 to 69. That's important to remember. All right, let's go to Dick Allen, who recently passed away, and there's been a lot of talk of pushing him into the Hall of Fame. But if you look at his numbers and you look at Gil Hodges' numbers, it's a very interesting call. The 1972 MVP in the American League, 7-time All-Star, the 1964 Rookie of the Year for the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's see. 100 RBIs, this is important. 100 RBIs 3 times in his career. 1,848 hits in his career. Wins above replacement, 58.7. Slugging percentage over his career, 534 slugging percentage from 1963 to 1977. The thing about Dick Allen is Richie Allen, whatever you want to call him, he bounced around. He's one of these players that bounced around a lot. He was a great player. Ken Boyer, the 1964 National League MVP, 5-time Gold Glove winner, 11-time All-Star, was the third baseman on the 1964 World Series champion St. Louis Cardinals. Wins above replacement, 62.8. That's very high. Extremely high. I was looking up. The guy I can kind of compare him to is Scott Rowland, just based off of the Gold Gloves and the hits and the length of the career. He played from 1943 through 1963 with an interruption due to World War II. Here's something. The Red Sox extended a qualifying offer to Eduardo Rodriguez. See if anybody else has been offered anything. Nothing so far. And now we're going to get into Gil Hodges, and we have Gil right here. Let's see. I got stuff here on the side too. Let me see. 8-time All-Star. 2-time World Series winner in 55 and 59. This just as a player. 3-time Gold Glove winner. He might be considered the greatest fielding first baseman for right-handed throwing first baseman, aside from, what the hell is his name? He also played for the Dodgers. Can't remember his name. Can't remember his name now. All right. His wins above replacement, 43.9. It's a little low than some of these other players, but there's other things about him that are very interesting. 1,921 hits over his major league career. 1,921 career hits, 370 home runs, 1,274 runs batted in. Actually, had 63 stolen. I didn't see that last night when I was going through this. But this is the bulk of his career. He played with Brooklyn Dodgers, the LA Dodgers, and he finished his career with the Mets. By the time he got to the Mets, he's pretty much done, obviously. By the time he went out to Los Angeles, his career was kind of done at that point. But a couple of interesting things of note. He's one of the very few players to hit 4 home runs in a game. Over the course of his career, he's hit 40 home runs twice. Over the course of his career, he had, let's see, I'll do like the Mad Dog and the Mike and the Mad Dog going through the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 years in a row of 100 RBIs in a season, and one other year with 98 RBIs. So over 98 RBIs plus in eight years in his career. He played from 1943 to 1963, with 2 years interrupted by the war. But really, his career didn't really start until 1948. So from 48 to 1957, that is the bulk of his career in terms of just him as an everyday player and as a star. And he was a star. Uh, Let me just go through a couple of the things here with his numbers. Also, I heard this last night. A couple of things. When he retired in 1963, he had he had the most home runs for a right-handed hitter in the National League. I think in most of the National League, and he was bypassed by Willie Mays. Also in the 1950s, he has the second most home runs, which I didn't count them. He had the second most home runs in the 1950s behind Duke Snider. So that's kind of important to remember. Some of the players that Gil played with, not that this really means much, but obviously he played on some very historic teams that did not win. That cannot be discounted. Sometimes a player gets forgotten, especially when you're on all these great teams and they don't win. Got to remember that these teams in the 50s were always going up against the Dodgers all the time. But some of the all-time greats were on these teams. Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese, Duke Snider, Roy Campanella, Don Dry, and then he goes to Los Angeles. He plays behind Don Drysdale, Sandy Koufax. 1, 2, 6 players in the Hall of Fame he played with. Also, players of note that he played with over the course of his career: Carl Furillo, Don Newcomb, Phil Regan. Remember Phil Regan, the Vulture? Maury Wills, who I mentioned before. Roger Craig. Roger Craig was a very good pitcher in his career, especially with the Dodgers. And then when he got traded from the Mets to the Cardinals. Now, going on to what he did with the Mets as manager. The greatest Mets manager, managed Tom Seaver, managed Nolan Ryan, managed Jerry Koosman. Uh, there's clause in the Hall of Fame. You get into being a good person, having character, being a great sportsman. There you go. That's the name. Wes Parker is considered the greatest right-handed fielding first baseman. And probably Galarraga is probably up there too. So we really got 3 guys that are really considered the greatest defensive first baseman who are right-handed. Wes Parker. Thank you, Captain Obvious. It should have been, I couldn't remember his name. I don't know. I don't remember everything. I don't know everything. Thank you. But obviously, Gil is long overdue. Now there were 2 comparisons that I can direct you to, and that is Orlando Cepeda and Tony Perez. Tony Perez played a long time, played over 20 years, way over 20 years. So that's a good comparison. He was on great teams. He was kind of sort of forgotten. He's really the last guy to get into the Hall of Fame with those great players. Also about Gil. Gil had the most votes of any of these players that are on this Golden Days era list from the writers. I think 63% was the highest he ever got. He's, like I said, he's sort of forgotten just as a player, um, because he played on such great teams that didn't win, and obviously, that happens. That happens sometimes. People forget people. But what he did as a manager, his career as a manager is incomplete because he passed away. Um, he passed away at a very young, 48 years old. Died at 48 years old on a massive heart attack. But he had heart problems when he got here with the Mets as manager, and he took the team when I obviously didn't see the '69 team, not that old, but he obviously his work as a manager is incomplete. But once you include him being that manager on that great memorable team, as well as as well as the hell am I watching? Got TV on the side here. I don't see this. Of all things to have on TV. Now, please like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Baseball Hut. We'll be back again on tomorrow from the Baseball Hut 2, talking about the Mets. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of news tomorrow. But going back to Gil, uh, obviously he was the difference maker. Obviously he was the guy that had the leadership qualities in that organization at the time. And obviously that is something that the Mets are sorely missing right now. They need a leadership in terms of either as a manager or as a player or someone in the front office. And right now, that's what the Mets need desperately. The Mets desperately need that. And right now, the Mets are going to have to figure out who they can bring in um, going forward. Gil is the standard bearer of leadership with the Mets. And they need to find somebody that can fill those shoes. And it's going to be hard. But finding people like that are very difficult to find. You know, um, like I said earlier in the live stream, they have to do something about this front office. Whoever the general manager is that comes in here has to be very tight in terms of what is done on the field. He's going to have to, or she's going to have to figure out what to do with some of these people, because somewhere in there is a miserable person or two that wants to see this team fail. Either they're loyal to the Will Ponds or just totally incompetent at this point. But anyway, hope you like this live stream. It's a little different than some of the live streams you'll see. I like talking about the game. I don't like just talking about the Mets all the time. And we got plenty of time. Plenty of time to talk about all these different players. All right. This is from Ken Davidoff. Some interesting things. It's from John Hamm. I'm sorry. Raciel Iglesias received qualifying offer from the Angels. Justin Verlander did receive the qualifying offer from the Astros. I would not sign Verlander, especially with his age, and he didn't pitch last year. Carlos Rendon did not receive qualifying offer. So that's a guy that Mets could go after. They don't have to give up. Not that that's a big deal anymore. Brandon Belt received the qualifying offer. That's crazy. I wouldn't have given him that. All right. Final list of qualifying offers. Freddie Freeman, Eduardo Rodriguez, Nick Castellanos, Trevor Story. I wonder where Trevor Story is going to go. Carlos Correa, Justin Verlander, and his girl, Kate Upton, his wife, Raciel Iglesias, Corey Seager, Chris Taylor, Mike Conforto, Noah Syndergaard, Brandon Belt, Robbie Ray, and Marcus Semien. That's not a big list. It's not a big list. Hello, Sledge420. Well, thank you. Hello, Todd Licata. Let's use a picture of proven durability. Oh, everybody could use that. I think there'll be less injuries. I think going into next year if we have a season. I think because the pitchers took a year off basically and only played 60 games, I think they'll bounce back good. Going forward. I think that's I said that nobody was going to pitch 200 innings, and I was right. But let's see some interesting names. Let's go through this list real quickly before I end the stream. Freddie Freeman. He'll probably resign with the Braves. They're not going to let him go after they win a World Series. Eduardo Rodriguez. I see the Mets talking to him. Definitely. I see a lot of teams talking to him. Nick Castellanos. I see the Mets talking to him. Trevor Story. Where's Trevor Story going to go? That will be an interesting thing. Ray Rods. Hi, how are you? What's going on? Trevor Story. Some bad team should pick him up. That way I don't have to give up a draft pick. Corey Seager. I'm sorry. Carlos Correa. I think he'll go to Detroit. Justin Verlander. He should resign with the with the Astros. Rocio Iglesias. I'm going to point something out. I don't see Edwin Diaz being moved in the offseason. I think Diaz will be with the Mets this year in 2022. There's no reason not to have him come back. Do I trust him? No. Just wanted to mention that. Corey Seager. I think he'll go to the Yankees. That's a perfect fit for the Yankees. Chris Taylor. Now, that's a guy the Mets could talk to, but is he an everyday player? He's a center fielder. Michael Conforto. I've heard the Phillies with him. I could see him going to the Phillies and probably playing left field for them or even center field. He's not going to be back with the Mets. I don't see that happening. Noah Syndergaard. He'll be back with the Mets. Ray Rod. Story to Philly. Maybe. Maybe Correa to the Phillies. Brandon Belt. I think he'll re-sign with the Giants. He'll accept that offer. Robbie Ray. Now, that's another guy that's going to have a big market for him. Robbie Ray Rodriguez will have the biggest markets for him. I think the Mets will talk to him. I don't know if they'll sign him. Marcus Semien. I can see him going to the Phillies, going back to shortstop. But he'd be better up just being a second baseman. All the home runs. He's more valuable as a second baseman at this point. Christian Breed says, story to Houston to replace Correa. They offered him a 5-year deal, Correa, and he turned it down. What's Story going to look for? He had a bad year, too. Talk about a guy that bombed as a free agent in his free agent year. He bombed, and so did Conforto. Where's he going to go? That, Story's an interesting guy because I really talked him up pretty high, for a few weeks, for about a month, that he was going to get moved, and then the Rockies didn't move him. So I don't know where he's going to go because he had a horrific season. He didn't have a good year. And for a guy that's playing in Colorado and he had a bad offensive year, that's not, I don't know where he's going to go. That is one guy that I have a question. I have question marks about going forward. I could see him going to a bad team and rebuilding his career. I could see him going to Baltimore. Although Baltimore spending money, what the hell's going on down there? I don't know what the hell's going on down there. Let's see from John Heyman. Interesting that Verlander 0 innings this season and Syndergaard 2 innings got the qualifying offer, but Clayton Kershaw and Carlos Rodon did not. Rodon's going to have a big market, but then again, they didn't give him a contract. But that guy, I would talk to him definitely. All the lefties, I think the Mets will be in on all these lefties. Now I want to end the live stream here, but I want to thank you all for coming by. We will have a live stream tomorrow night on the Baseball Hut 2. And what's this here? Oh, a little article from New York Post. They're making predictions on who's going where. I'm not going to put it up on here, but I'm going to read this. I think I can read it. Let's take a peek. This is from Ken Davidoff. He's a good reporter. Let's see. He's ranking the top 40 MLB free agents and predicting where they'll sign. Now, I could do this for tomorrow night as well, because these guys are going to become free agents now. Now, please like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Let's go to number 40. Let's see where he says where these players are going to go. Okay, Carlos Correa. He says the Tigers, 10 years, $350. That's what I said. Tigers. Well, this is an interesting one. Corey Seager to the Rangers, 10 years, $305. Freddie Freeman, 6 years, $200. Max Scherzer. He's not going to be with the Mets or the Yankees. 3 years, $110 with the Dodgers. Marcus Semien. Oh, this is different. The Yankees are going to sign him. I don't see. See, the Yankees would be stupid to bring in a right-handed bat for their. If they need left-handed power. I don't know what the hell the Yankees are doing. Robbie Ray, the Blue Jays. Trevor Story. Somebody said the Astros. Christian said the Astros. 5 years, 110 million. Kevin Gausman. He's saying the Giants. Javi Baez. I'll get this. He's going to stay with the Mets. 7 years, $150 million. I don't know if I would do that. Let me end this share screen. Interesting. Stolen Marte. 3 years, $75 million with the Mets. I would do that. Money's not a big deal with the Mets now. Chris Bryant. Now, he doesn't have a qualifying offer to him. This is what this says. One of 2016 Cubs on this list and one of 2 appealing Swiss Army knives, along with the next guy. Mariners, 6 years, $140 million. The Mets are going to be in on Bryant till he signs. And they'd be crazy not to be on him. They've been on him for 2 years. Chris Taylor, the Giants for 5 years. 100 million. Marcus Stroman. He didn't have a qualifying offer. 5 years, 100 million to the Astros. We're going to do this tomorrow and more in depth. I'm just going through this. Clayton Kershaw, Dodgers, 3 years, 80 million. He can get the qualifying offer. Nelson Cruz, Captain Obvious himself. They say the Mariners 1 year, 11 million. Nick Castellanos, the Guardians, 5 years, 85 million. Brandon Belt, 3 years, 70 million to the Giants. Oh, I want to mention this. JD Martinez, he did not opt out of his contract with the Red Sox. He's going back to the Red Sox. Brandon Belt, 3 years with the Giants. Kyle Schwarber, keep an eye on him with the Mets. Red Sox, 5 years. Justin Verlander, I think he'll take they say in the Yankees. I don't think he's going to the Yankees. How does Verlander? Well, didn't Verlander not get along with Jared Cole? Getting a little confused with some of the players. Kyle Seager, the Rangers, 3 years. Carlos Rendon, 5 years. Well, he didn't get a qualifying offer. I don't think he's going to get 5 years with the White Sox. Anthony DeSclafani, 1 year with the Giants. Horacio Iglesias, 4 years, $60 million. I don't think that's happening. Michael Conforto, a reunion with his first big league hitting coach, Kevin Long, makes plenty of sense. The Phillies, 6 years, 140. I could see that. Him going to the Phillies or him going to the Nationals. And he'll be the left fielder. Zach Greinke. This guy's a strange bird, Greinke. I could see him going to somewhere that's not a big market. They're saying the Padres 1 year. Eduardo Rodriguez. Saying 1 year with the Red Sox. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be with the Red Sox. Anthony Rizzo. The same Yankees 2 years. See that too. It's a Met. Aaron Loop. He's going to get 3 years, $27 million from that. Kenley Jansen. He's going to the Phillies for 3 years, $40 million. You got to be real careful with Jansen because he's 34 years old. He's got a heart problem. You got to be very careful with him. Noah Syndergaard. Well, he's going to resign with the Mets. Mark Melancon will stay with the Padres. Avisel Garcia. Now that's a guy that the Mets talked about him. The Mets announcers, Ron Darling and Gary talked about him when the Mets were in Milwaukee. They're saying the Royals. He's 30 years old. He should get more than this. 2 years at $30 million. He had a good year. Steven Matz. He's predicting that Steven is going to go to the Twins for 3 years at 30. That's nothing. Steven should get more than that. John Gray, the Blue Jays. Brett Gardner, 1 year with the Marlins. I can see that happening. Saya Suzuki. Now, I mentioned him earlier. I might talk about him tomorrow night. He's from the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. 3 years of $21 million with the Marlins. I don't see the Marlins doing that. They say they're going to sign big players. I'll believe it. Andrew Chafin. Teams are going to be after him. The guy's a right-handed pitcher, a left-handed reliever. Teams are going to be in on him, and the Mets could use another lefty in that bullpen. They're saying the Yankees 3 years at $21 million. Rich Hill. Angels at 1 year. Corey Kluber. He's the same retirement. The same retirement. And now and Albert Pujols. They're saying David Off is saying 1 year with the Cardinals. I could see that too. I could see him going. Yeah, just for training. So we'll go through this list again tomorrow. And hopefully you like that real quick run through. But I want to thank you all for coming by. We'll be back tomorrow for the Baseball Hut 2. Let me put the link into the I haven't done this in a while, so I'm a little behind things. Let me put the link into the Baseball Hut 2, and you want to subscribe to that channel because I do same shit, different day. You know. Let me just hold on a second. Hold on, I need drink. No, I don't need drink. Let's see. Just delete a couple things here. Now, please like this video if you haven't already, and we will be back again tomorrow night around 6:37, and we'll talk about the Mets again, and hopefully we'll have some information on the new general manager. We don't have any information on anything right now, so I don't know what the hell's going on. I will get to the bottom of it. That's a damn sure. I will definitely do that. All right, let me just delete a couple things here. Just check some things here. Hopefully this is the right. I got so many channels. Let's say 1, 2, 3. Just double check. I think this is the right one. If not, well. This should be the link to the Baseball Hut 2. So let me just double check. No, it's the Comic Book Hut 2. The hell? Let me take that off. Sorry. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. That's the same link. What the hell? The hell, man? Let me delete that. Sorry. I got so much going on. You have no idea. No idea. Oh, this should be it. Better be it. There we go. There we go. So this is the link to the Baseball Hut 2. So you want to subscribe to it, and we will be back again tomorrow. And that channel does unbelievable for a little channel. So that so we'll have the same shit, different day here. You know how it is. So we'll be back tomorrow, and on the Baseball Hut 2. There'll be videos coming up over the next couple of days. What they'll be about, basically whatever I want to do it on, and whatever news is going on. Now, the Baseball Hut 2 is more of a sort of a news channel than this channel is. This is about rumors and having fun and coming up with different trades. And we're going to have a lot of fun here. Mets have a lot of work to do. But I want to thank you all for coming by. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.